Imagine for a moment the possibility of transforming how someone sees you. Picture them moving from indifference, perhaps even dismissal, to admiration and respect. We've all felt the sting of being undervalued at one time or another, whether by a colleague, a friend, or a partner. It's a painful feeling, isn't it? But what if I told you that how others value you starts with how you value yourself? That the key to changing how others perceive you isn't found in manipulation, clever tricks, or forcing them to see you differently. It's found deep within, in a process of self-discovery and mastery. What if you could elevate your self-esteem and inner strength so profoundly that others simply can't help but notice? This journey may sound challenging, but it's rooted in ancient wisdom. The Stoics, great thinkers like Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus, believed that our perception of the world and our place in it is shaped from within. They taught that by focusing on self-mastery, we could alter the way others view us, not through coercion, but through the natural radiance of our own confidence, calm, and virtue. Today, we're going to dive deep into how the timeless principles of Stoicism can guide you on a path to becoming the kind of person who is valued, admired, and respected, not only by others, but most importantly, by yourself. Before we dive in, if you find value in this message, I invite you to subscribe and join this community where we strive to grow together. Only 15% of viewers are subscribed, so if this resonates with you, subscribing ensures you won't miss content designed to elevate your life. Now let's begin this reflective journey toward transformation. Part 1. The core of self-esteem, your inner foundation. Self-esteem. It's a term we hear so often, yet its true significance is frequently misunderstood. What is self-esteem, really? The Stoics would say it's not just a superficial feeling of confidence, nor is it something that fluctuates based on praise or criticism from others. Self-esteem, in its truest form, is about the inner foundation upon which you build your life. Let's use an analogy. Imagine your self-esteem is like the foundation of a house. If that foundation is weak, the entire structure, your life, your relationships, your ambitions, becomes unstable. Consider the example of Sarah, a graphic designer who used to constantly seek validation from her clients. Every time a client rejected a design, she'd question her abilities and feel disheartened. However, once she began focusing on building her self-esteem, reflecting on her skills, and aligning her work with her values, she stopped seeking constant approval. She began to trust her creative vision, and over time, clients started valuing her unique input more. Her confidence became the foundation of her success, and others began respecting her professional judgment. A strong wind, a bit of criticism, or someone's neglect can shake the whole house, causing it to crumble. But if your foundation is strong, built on solid ground, then no storm, no external event or person can bring it down. The Stoics believed that a strong foundation is built not on external validation, but on inner principles, on self-mastery, wisdom, and the practice of virtue. They understood that self-esteem comes from knowing who you are and acting in alignment with your deepest values, regardless of how others treat you or what they think of you. Why is self-esteem so important? Because how you value yourself directly impacts how others value you. Think about it. Have you ever noticed how people with solid, unshakable confidence naturally attract respect and admiration? They don't beg for attention or try to win approval. They simply live their lives authentically, and others are drawn to their energy. This doesn't happen by chance. It's a result of inner work that the Stoics understood very well. When you deeply know your worth, you no longer rely on compliments, approval, or recognition from others to feel good about yourself. Instead, your value comes from within. and this internal sense of worth shines outward, becoming magnetic to those around you. To truly understand self-esteem, we need to delve into Stoic philosophy and explore how this ancient wisdom offers a roadmap for cultivating a deep sense of inner worth. Part 2. The Stoic practices for building self-esteem. Building self-esteem, according to the Stoics, is not a quick fix or a temporary boost in confidence. It's a lifelong journey, a practice rooted in daily habits and thoughtful reflection. Let's explore some of the most powerful Stoic practices that can help you strengthen your inner foundation. Practice 1. Daily reflection. A path to self-knowledge. One of the most accessible yet transformative practices is daily reflection. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, famously wrote in his Meditations, a series of reflections on his own thoughts, actions, and emotions. These writings weren't intended for anyone else. They were a private practice of self-examination. Through this, Marcus sought to align his actions with his values and correct his mistakes. You can adopt this practice by setting aside just a few moments each day to reflect on your behavior. Ask yourself, did I act according to my values today? Was I true to myself in my interactions? Where did I let fear or insecurity guide my decisions? What can I improve tomorrow? This simple habit of reflection helps you become more aware of how your actions align with your core principles. Think of someone like Jack, a busy executive. Each night before going to bed, Jack reflects on his day. He asks himself, did I lead my team with integrity today? Did I react to stress in a way I'm proud of? Over time, this nightly reflection helps him make small adjustments in his behavior, becoming more in tune with his core values. It has made him a more grounded, respected leader, and his self-esteem has grown as a result. The more you know yourself, the more confident and grounded you become. You no longer need to rely on the opinions of others because you've developed a clear sense of who you are and what you stand for. Over time, this inner clarity fortifies your self-esteem, creating a solid foundation that others can't help but respect. Practice 2. Negative visualization. Preparing for life's challenges. The Stoics also practice something called negative visualization. At first glance, it might seem counterintuitive. Why would you want to imagine the worst-case scenario? Isn't that pessimistic? But negative visualization isn't about dwelling on negativity. It's about mentally preparing for life's inevitable challenges. The Stoics taught that by contemplating the worst possible outcomes, we prepare ourselves to face adversity with grace and resilience. When we acknowledge that bad things can and will happen, we rob those events of their power to shock or destabilize us. Imagine Mary, a young entrepreneur about to pitch her business idea to potential investors. Rather than anxiously worrying about rejection, she practices negative visualization. She imagines the worst outcome, being turned down by all the investors. Mentally preparing herself for this possibility helps her enter the pitch with a calm, focused mindset. Even though a few investors pass on the idea, Mary stays composed and adjusts her strategy. Eventually, she secures the funding she needs. Her resilience, developed through negative visualization, is what carried her through. Instead, we meet them with calm acceptance, knowing that we are capable of handling whatever comes our way. Now, it's your turn. Imagine a situation where you feel undervalued by someone close to you. Instead of being consumed by frustration or sadness, visualize the worst outcome. Perhaps this person never sees your true worth. Now ask yourself, what will I do if that happens? In doing so, You begin to understand that even if things don't go as you hoped, your inner worth remains intact. You are still in control of how you respond. This practice strengthens your resilience and, in turn, your self-esteem. By regularly engaging in negative visualization, you build a sense of emotional preparedness. You stop being dependent on things going perfectly or people treating you exactly how you'd like. Instead, you cultivate a deep internal strength that allows you to thrive regardless of external circumstances. Practice 3. Amor Fati, loving your fate. The Stoic concept of amor fati, or love of fate, is another essential tool in building self-esteem. It's the idea that we should embrace everything that happens to us, the good and the bad, with love and acceptance. This doesn't mean passively resigning yourself to your circumstances or giving up on improving your life. Instead, it's about accepting what you cannot control and making peace with it. When you practice amor fati, you stop resisting reality. You stop wishing things were different or longing for others to validate you. Let's take John as an example. John was passed over for a promotion he had been working towards for years. At first, he felt bitter and frustrated, but he reminded himself of the Stoic principle amor fati, loving his fate. Instead of dwelling on what he couldn't change, he accepted the situation and focused on improving his skills. 6 months later, a new opportunity opened up in another department, one that aligned better with his long-term goals. Because he had embraced his fate rather than resisting it, John was prepared to seize the new opportunity. Instead, you focus on what you can control: your actions, your thoughts, and your responses. In doing so, you free yourself from the exhausting cycle of comparison and external validation. As you embrace your fate, you begin to see that your value isn't determined by how others treat you, but by how you respond to life's challenges. This deep acceptance of your circumstances and your ability to navigate them is a powerful form of self-esteem. When you stop fighting reality and start embracing it, you become unshakable. Part 3. Transforming how others perceive you. Now that we've explored how to build self-esteem from within, let's turn our attention to how these internal changes naturally transform how others perceive you. One of the most profound insights from Stoic philosophy is that the more you master yourself, the more others will recognize your worth. It might sound paradoxical, but the less you need validation from others, the more they are likely to offer it. Why? Because true confidence, rooted in self-mastery and self-knowledge, is magnetic. People are drawn to those who are self-sufficient, emotionally stable, and grounded in their values. The Stoic practices we've discussed, daily reflection, negative visualization, and amor fati, cultivate exactly these qualities. When you engage in these practices consistently, you become more emotionally self-sufficient, more resilient in the face of challenges, and more accepting of yourself and your circumstances. These traits are incredibly attractive to others. But how do we apply these principles practically in the way we interact with people in our lives? Practice 4. Emotional Self-Sufficiency. The key to inner freedom. One of the most powerful Stoic ideas is emotional self-sufficiency. At its core, this concept means that your happiness and sense of worth come from within, not from external sources. You don't rely on others to feel good about yourself. This doesn't mean you isolate yourself or become emotionally distant. In fact, it's quite the opposite. Emotional self-sufficiency allows you to engage in relationships more deeply because you are not constantly seeking approval or validation. Imagine for a moment how liberating it would be to no longer be at the mercy of others' opinions, to be able to interact with others from a place of strength, not neediness. When you value yourself first, you naturally attract the respect and admiration of others. Take Monica, who had always depended on her friends' approval to feel good about herself. After studying Stoicism, she started to focus on emotional self-sufficiency, developing her own hobbies, interests, and self-care routine. Now, instead of needing constant validation, she finds joy in activities like painting and hiking, which nurture her sense of self. As she became more independent emotionally, her friends began to respect her more, noticing how much stronger and centered she had become. To develop emotional self-sufficiency, start by dedicating time to activities that bring you joy, fulfillment, and growth. Whether it's a hobby, a creative pursuit, or simply spending time alone in reflection, these moments are essential for nurturing your inner strength. When you invest in yourself, you signal to the world that you are a person of value, someone who doesn't rely on external validation to feel complete. Furthermore, learn to set healthy boundaries. One of the most empowering things you can do is protect your emotional space by saying no when necessary. Often we fear saying no because we think it will make others dislike or devalue us. But in reality, when you set clear boundaries, you show others that you respect yourself. People tend to respect those who respect themselves. Finally, focus on controlling what you can. The Stoics remind us that much of what we stress about is beyond our control. Other people's actions, thoughts, and judgments, for example. By releasing the need to control these things, you free yourself from a great emotional burden. Instead, concentrate on your own actions, values, and growth. Emotional self-sufficiency is not about isolation. It's about mastering your inner world so that the external world no longer dictates your worth. Practice 5. Practicing virtue. The Stoic path to true confidence. At the heart of Stoicism is the practice of virtue. For the Stoics, living a virtuous life, one guided by principles like wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance, was the ultimate goal. But what does virtue have to do with transforming how others see you? When you live according to your values, when your actions align with your principles, you build a sense of inner integrity and confidence that is undeniable. You don't need to shout about your accomplishments or seek validation from others because you know you are living in accordance with what matters most to you. For example, let's say one of your core values is honesty. By committing to being truthful in all your interactions, even when it's difficult, you reinforce your sense of self-worth. Each time you act in line with your values, you strengthen your self-esteem. Consider Ethan, a manager who values honesty above all. During a difficult project, Ethan had to give his team some tough feedback. Instead of sugarcoating the truth, he chose to be straightforward yet kind. His honesty helped the team identify and fix key problems, and although it was hard at first, his integrity earned him more respect. People knew they could trust him to be honest, even in difficult situations. This kind of quiet confidence, rooted in virtue, is deeply attractive to others. People are drawn to those who have a clear sense of who they are and what they stand for. But practicing virtue isn't always easy. It requires courage. Courage to face your fears, stand by your principles, and make tough decisions. Each time you confront a challenge with courage, you build emotional resilience. You prove to yourself that you are capable of handling whatever life throws your way, and this confidence radiates outward, changing how others perceive you. Wisdom, another central Stoic virtue, involves seeking knowledge and continuously learning. A wise person remains open to new ideas and willing to adapt their beliefs when necessary. Wisdom isn't about rigidly holding on to what you know, but being open to growth and understanding. By seeking wisdom, you make more balanced decisions, and others recognize this depth in you. Justice, treating people fairly and equitably, also plays a crucial role in shaping how others perceive you. When you treat others with fairness and integrity, they will, in turn, treat you with respect. Acting justly reinforces your sense of self-worth and contributes to creating harmonious relationships built on mutual respect. When you commit to practicing virtue, you create a strong, stable foundation for your life. You become a person who others look up to, someone who inspires admiration, not through manipulation or control, but through the quiet strength of character. Virtue is not just the Stoic path to self-confidence, it's the path to a fuller, more meaningful life. Part 4. Communicating with confidence. How to reflect your inner strength. While building emotional self-sufficiency and practicing virtue is essential, how you communicate these qualities to the world also matters. Stoicism teaches us that mastering our interactions with others is key to living a harmonious and respected life. Practice 6. Assertive communication. The power of speaking with clarity. Assertive communication is one of the most important skills you can develop when it comes to transforming how others see you. Often, people believe that being assertive means being aggressive or forceful. But true assertiveness, according to Stoic principles, is about clarity, respect, and honesty. It's about expressing your needs and desires without being passive or overly dominant. When you communicate assertively, you practice the Stoic virtues of honesty and courage. You say what you mean clearly and respectfully, without fear of judgment or rejection. You speak your truth not to control others, but to express yourself authentically. This kind of communication builds trust and respect in your relationships. For example, instead of saying, "You never listen to me," an assertive communicator would say, "I feel unheard when my opinions aren't considered." Notice the difference? The first statement is accusatory, likely to provoke defensiveness. The second is clear, respectful, and opens up space for dialogue. Assertiveness isn't about blaming others. It's about taking responsibility for your feelings and needs, while also respecting the other person's perspective. Lisa, a software developer, often felt her ideas were overlooked in meetings because she wasn't speaking up enough. She decided to practice assertive communication. Instead of staying quiet or being overly passive, she began expressing her ideas clearly and respectfully, saying things like, "I believe this approach could improve the efficiency of our project, and here's why." Over time, her colleagues started paying more attention to her contributions, and her role on the team grew. To practice assertive communication, start small. In your next conversation, focus on expressing yourself clearly and calmly, without attacking or diminishing the other person. Over time, as you practice, assertiveness will become second nature, and people will begin to value your input more. Assertiveness is not only a form of self-respect, but also a way to communicate the respect you have for others. Practice 7. Active listening. Building trust and connection. True communication is not just about speaking. It's equally about listening. The Stoics understood that to build deep, meaningful relationships, we must learn to listen actively, with full presence and attention. Active listening means going beyond simply hearing words. It means fully engaging with the person speaking, paying attention to their emotions, thoughts, and intentions. This kind of deep listening builds trust and mutual respect, because it shows the other person that you value their perspective. David, a project manager, noticed that his team members often felt unheard during meetings. He started practicing active listening, focusing on each person's input without interrupting or planning his response in advance. By simply giving his team members his full attention, he built a stronger sense of trust. His team felt valued, and this led to more open, honest communication. When you practice active listening, you avoid interruptions and focus entirely on the speaker. You maintain eye contact, offer nods or gestures of understanding, and ask thoughtful questions that show you're truly engaged. In a world filled with distractions, giving someone your full attention is a powerful act of respect. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus reminded us that we have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so that we can listen more and speak less. Listening is a form of humility, and when others see that you genuinely value their thoughts, they will naturally begin to value you more in return. Active listening doesn't just improve your relationships, it also strengthens your emotional self-sufficiency. By deeply listening to others, you develop greater empathy and understanding, which allows you to respond with wisdom and calm rather than reacting impulsively. Practice 8. Consistency and reliability. The cornerstones of trust. One of the most crucial elements in transforming how others perceive you is consistency. When your actions are aligned with your words, when you consistently show up as someone reliable, others begin to trust you on a deeper level. Being consistent means that people know what to expect from you. Whether it's in your personal or professional life, consistency builds security in your relationships. When you say you'll do something and follow through, you demonstrate reliability, another Stoic virtue. Think of Susan, a small business owner who prides herself on always delivering her products on time. Her clients know they can rely on her, and this consistency has built a strong reputation for her business. While other vendors occasionally miss deadlines, Susan's reliability keeps her clients coming back, knowing they can count on her without fail. Reliability goes beyond simply keeping promises. It means being there for others when they need you, offering support without being asked, and showing empathy during difficult times. Over time, as you prove yourself to be a consistent and reliable person, others will naturally start to respect and value your presence in their lives. The Stoics believed that our actions define who we are. As Aristotle famously said, "We are what we repeatedly do." Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. Consistency is not about perfection. It's about continuously striving to live in alignment with your values. This practice will strengthen your self-esteem and transform how others perceive you. Part 5. Empathy, positivity, and the final steps toward mastery. Practice 9. Empathy. Understanding the world through others' eyes. At its heart, Stoicism is not just about self-mastery, but also about understanding our interconnectedness with others. Practicing empathy allows us to build stronger, more compassionate relationships. Empathy is the ability to put yourself in another person's shoes, to understand their emotions, motivations, and struggles. The Stoics believed that by cultivating empathy, we could create harmony in our relationships, reducing conflict and fostering deeper connections. When you practice empathy, you listen with more than just your ears. You listen with your heart. You make a genuine effort to understand where the other person is coming from, even if you don't agree with them. This level of understanding builds trust and respect in your relationships. James, a teacher, noticed that one of his students was acting out in class. Instead of punishing the student immediately, he took the time to ask about what was going on at home. He learned that the student's parents were going through a difficult divorce. By empathizing and understanding the situation, James was able to offer the student emotional support, and the behavior in class improved. His empathy strengthened the bond between teacher and student. Empathy is not just about being there for someone during their struggles. It's also about celebrating their joys and successes. When you celebrate others' victories as if they were your own, you demonstrate a generous and open heart, an attitude that naturally attracts people to you. Confucius once said, "What you do not wish for yourself, do not do to others." This principle of empathy reminds us to treat others as we would like to be treated. When you apply this philosophy in your daily interactions, you cultivate a deeper sense of connection with the people around you. Practice 10. Positivity and optimism. The light that draws others. And finally, let's talk about positivity and optimism. The Stoics understood that while we can't control the events of our lives, we can control how we perceive and respond to them. They believed that our mindset plays a crucial role in shaping our experience of the world. Positivity doesn't mean ignoring problems or pretending everything is perfect. It means focusing on solutions, seeing challenges as opportunities for growth, and choosing to cultivate a mindset of gratitude and resilience. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, said, "The happiness of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts." This statement reflects the Stoic belief that our internal world, the way we think and perceive, shapes our external experience. After losing her job unexpectedly, Maria could have easily fallen into despair. Instead, she chose to focus on what she could control, her mindset. Each day, she practiced gratitude, acknowledging small things she appreciated, like her supportive friends and her health. This optimistic attitude helped her stay resilient, and within a few months she found a new job that was an even better fit for her skills. Her positive mindset made the transition smoother and helped her maintain her confidence throughout the tough period. To cultivate positivity, start by practicing gratitude. Each day, take a moment to reflect on the things you are grateful for, no matter how small. Gratitude shifts your focus from what's lacking to what's abundant in your life, creating a sense of contentment and joy. Another powerful practice is reframing negative thoughts. Instead of saying, "This is too hard," try saying, "This is a challenge, and I'm capable of overcoming it." By changing the way you talk to yourself, you begin to change the way you see the world. Finally, surround yourself with positive influences. The people you spend time with greatly impact your mindset. Seek out relationships that uplift and inspire you, and distance yourself from negativity where possible. When you cultivate a positive, solution-oriented mindset, you become a beacon of light for others. People are naturally drawn to those who bring optimism and encouragement into their lives. Conclusion: the journey toward mastery. We've covered a lot of ground today, but let me leave you with this. The Stoic journey is a lifelong practice. There is no destination where you will suddenly feel like you've arrived. Rather, it's about continuously striving to live in alignment with your values, cultivating inner strength, and treating others with respect and empathy. Remember, the first step toward changing how others perceive you is changing how you perceive yourself. By building emotional self-sufficiency, practicing virtue, and communicating with clarity and empathy, you will naturally attract respect and admiration. Take John again, who wanted to integrate Stoic principles into his daily life. Instead of trying to change everything at once, he began by practicing daily reflection for just 5 minutes each morning. Over time, this small habit grew into a deeper routine of self-awareness, and he noticed significant changes in his mindset and interactions. It wasn't an overnight transformation, but the consistent practice of small actions led to a profound shift in how he saw himself and how others viewed him. Start small. Choose one of the techniques we've discussed today, whether it's practicing daily reflection, communicating more assertively, or cultivating positivity, and make it part of your daily routine. Over time, these small actions will lead to profound transformations. Thank you for joining me on this journey.